When you think of Australia, you picture beaches, deserts, and deadly spiders. But hidden in mountain ranges most people don't even know exist are towns so remote, so economically bizarre, they'll make you question everything you thought you knew about the land down under. Some are literally submerged under lakes, others sit 200 kilometers from the nearest city, and one town's entire economy runs on a 150-year-old foot race. Hit like and subscribe right now to prove to my grandmother I'm not wasting my time making these videos. Show her that people do value real economic analysis and updates. Prove her wrong. This isn't just a list of pretty mountain getaways. These towns reveal something shocking about Australia's economic infrastructure: population collapse in rural areas, tourism-dependent economies hanging by a thread, entire communities relocated for government projects, and the rise of lifestyle economies where people choose isolation over opportunity. What you're seeing here is a microcosm of what's happening to small towns across the developed world. Today, we're counting down 10 mountain towns in Australia that defy logic, economics, and sometimes gravity itself. From townships built during massive infrastructure schemes to communities 600 kilometers from the nearest airport, these places will blow your mind. And trust me, number one involves a town that literally doesn't exist anymore, yet people still live there. This is going to get wild. Why do these mountain towns matter economically? Because Australia is one of the most urbanized countries on Earth. 90% of people live in cities. That means rural and mountain communities face extreme population pressure, aging demographics, tourism dependency, and infrastructure challenges. Some survive on niche industries, others pivot to adventure tourism. And a few? They're holding on by sheer stubbornness and government funding. These aren't just scenic postcards. They're economic experiments playing out in real time, and what happens here might predict the future of small towns everywhere. Welcome to Australia's forgotten highlands. Number 10, STAWELL, Victoria. This town's entire economy peaks once a year for a 120-meter foot race. STAWELL sits near the Grampians National Park in Victoria, known primarily for hosting the STAWELL Gift, Australia's oldest and richest short-distance running race. The town serves as a gateway to Grampians National Park tourism, but the annual STAWELL Gift brings thousands of visitors flooding in. The population is heavily reliant on event tourism, surrounded by stunning mountain landscapes. Here's the twist. The foot race has been running since 1878, making it older than most Australian infrastructure. Locals joke that STAWELL has two seasons, STAWELL Gift Week and the other 51 weeks when absolutely nothing happens. Imagine building your entire town's identity around people running really fast for 12 seconds. That's commitment. Or desperation. Maybe both. Picture this. Thousands descending on a quiet Victorian town. The buzz of anticipation building, vendors setting up stalls, then dead silence before the starting gun. 12 seconds of pure chaos follow as runners explode down the track. Then everyone packs up and disappears for another year, leaving STAWELL to return to its baseline existence of being a pleasant but unremarkable rural town with a really famous sprint race. The economic model is essentially host one massive event, stretch those profits across 365 days, hope for the best. It's tourism concentrated into one glorious, exhausting week. The town transforms completely during the gift, with accommodation booked out months in advance and restaurants operating at maximum capacity. Then April ends and STAWELL goes back to being that place you pass on the way to the Grampians. It's a feast or famine economy wrapped around a sporting tradition that refuses to die, and somehow it works. The gift brings in enough revenue to sustain local businesses through the quiet months, proving that sometimes all you need is one really good gimmick and 146 years of brand recognition. Would you visit a town for a 12-second race? Drop yes or no below. Number 9, BELGRAVE, Victoria. This mountain town is famous for a train that moves slower than you walk. Nestled in the Dandenong Ranges just 50 minutes from Melbourne, BELGRAVE is known for the historic Puffing Billy Railway and lush forest surroundings. The town sits just far enough from Melbourne to feel like an escape while being close enough for a day trip, which perfectly positions it for weekend tourism. The economy centers entirely on heritage railway tourism, with the Puffing Billy serving as the main attraction. Surrounded by temperate rainforest, the area offers hiking, cafes, and galleries. But let's be honest, people come for the train. Here's the twist. The railway was built in 1900 and still runs on the original track, chugging along at speeds that would embarrass a bicycle. Visitors say riding Puffing Billy feels like time traveling to an era when fast meant 25 kilometers per hour, and nobody was in a hurry to get anywhere. You know your town's tourism hook is niche when the main attraction is watching a steam train struggle uphill while children hang out the windows waving at strangers. But here's the thing, it works brilliantly. Belgrave has carved out an economic niche by preserving something genuinely nostalgic and packaging it for modern tourists who want an escape from speed and screens. Picture this, leaning out of a century-old train car, cool mountain air rushing past your face, massive tree ferns towering overhead on both sides, moving just fast enough to appreciate every single leaf. The whistle blows, steam billows. You're moving at walking pace through a forest that looks prehistoric, and somehow this becomes the highlight of your weekend. Belgrave's economy depends entirely on this experience, and thousands of people pay gladly for it every single week. The town has restaurants, bed and breakfasts, and shops all built around supporting Puffing Billy tourists. It's a one-attraction economy, but when that attraction is this charming and this close to a capital city, sustainability becomes achievable. Have you been on Puffing Billy? Tell us in the comments. Number 8. Tamborine Mountain, Queensland. This mountain town is closer to a beach resort than actual mountains, yet it thrives on being alpine. Located in Queensland's Gold Coast hinterland, Tamborine Mountain features lush rainforests, artisan communities, and a charming village atmosphere just 1 hour from Brisbane. The proximity to Brisbane and the Gold Coast makes it incredibly accessible, which drives weekend tourism hard. The economy is based on boutique tourism, wineries, art galleries, and gourmet food experiences. The climate is subtropical rainforest. Definitely not alpine, but the marketing leans heavily into mountain retreat imagery. It's popular as a weekend destination for Southeast Queensland residents who want to feel like they've gone somewhere without actually going far. Here's the twist. It markets itself as a mountain retreat despite having a mild tropical climate where snow has never fallen and probably never will. Brisbane locals treat Tamborine like their personal Napa Valley, except with waterfalls, glowworms, and significantly more humidity. Calling yourself a mountain town when you're basically a fancy hill with gift shops is peak Australian marketing, and somehow everyone just goes along with it because the wine is good and the views are pretty. The economic model here is brilliant. Position yourself as a mountain escape close enough for spontaneous visits. Fill the town with wineries and galleries so there's always something to do, and charge premium prices because you're offering an experience, not just a destination. Picture this. Wandering through rainforest boardwalks in the morning, wine tasting at a hilltop vineyard by afternoon, watching the sunset over the Gold Coast skyline from your elevated perch, then realizing you're only 90 minutes from surfer's paradise and could be back at the beach tomorrow if you wanted. Tamborine Mountain has mastered the art of being convenient luxury, close enough to feel accessible, but distinct enough to justify higher prices. The town thrives because it offers urbanites a quick mental reset without requiring serious travel planning. Mountain town or marketing genius? Vote below. Number 7. TUMBARUMBA, New South Wales. This town's name means hollow-sounding ground, and its economy literally depends on what grows in that ground. Surrounded by mountain peaks, bushland, vineyards, and streams, TUMBARUMBA in the snowy valleys is famous for award-winning wines and premium blueberries. The remote location in the Snowy Mountains region means tourism is limited, so the economy runs primarily on agriculture. Viticulture and berry farming dominate, with TUMBARUMBA supplying grapes to major Australian sparkling wine producers. The region's high altitude and cool climate create perfect conditions for growing Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes used in premium sparkling wines. Agricultural pastures and forestry round out the economic base. Here's the twist. Some of Australia's best champagne-method sparkling wines start here, yet most bottles never mention TUMBARUMBA on the label. The grapes get trucked to wineries in other regions, blended, bottled, and sold under different names. Winemakers joke that TUMBARUMBA grapes make million-dollar bottles, just not in TUMBARUMBA itself. Imagine growing world-class wine grapes in a town so remote your main competition is kangaroos eating the vines and your reward is barely getting credit for the final product. It's the agricultural equivalent of being the ghostwriter for a best-selling author. TUMBARUMBA does all the hard work. The perfect soil, the ideal climate, the careful cultivation, and other regions get the glory and the profit margins. But the town persists because the land produces consistently excellent fruit and demand remains strong. Picture this: endless rows of vines stretching across hillsides, snow-capped peaks in the distance, cool mountain air, perfect for developing the acidity that makes great sparkling wine, and absolutely zero traffic lights anywhere. The town is quiet, remote, and economically dependent on agricultural exports that most Australians have never connected back to this specific location. It's a hidden economic engine producing premium products under someone else's brand. Would you trade city life for vineyard views? Let us know. Number 6. Bright, Victoria. This town turns into Australia's Vermont every autumn, and the economy basically shuts down the rest of the year. Bright, located in Victoria's Alpine Shire, explodes with vibrant autumn colors each year, drawing massive crowds to witness the seasonal foliage transformation. Located 3.5 hours from Melbourne, the town becomes absolutely packed during peak autumn season, which runs from late April through May. Tourism dominates the economy, with visitors coming for cycling, hiking, and seasonal photography. Surrounded by mountains and rivers, Bright offers stunning natural beauty year-round, but autumn is when the cash registers really sing. Here's the twist. Hotel prices triple during the autumn peak, and accommodations book out months in advance. Locals say there are two types of people in Bright: those who love autumn crowds and embrace the chaos, and those who hibernate until winter, avoiding the town center entirely until the leaf peepers go home. Building your economy around leaves changing color is the most aggressively wholesome thing Australia has ever done, and it works so well that Bright has become synonymous with autumn tourism. The economic impact is staggering. Restaurants that operate at half capacity most of the year suddenly have 2-hour wait times. Gift shops make 6 months of revenue in 6 weeks. Hotels and bed and breakfasts charge premium rates and still sell out. Picture this: cycling through tunnels of gold and crimson trees lining country roads, crisp mountain air filling your lungs, the satisfying crunch of fallen leaves underfoot, and approximately 10,000 Instagram influencers competing for the same photo spot on the main street. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, and it's absolutely mobbed with people trying to experience nature. Bright has successfully monetized seasonal change, turning a natural phenomenon into a tourism juggernaut that sustains the town through quieter months. The challenge is managing this feast or famine cycle, where businesses must earn enough during peak season to survive the rest of the year. Autumn in Bright or spring anywhere else? Drop your vote. Number 5. Jindabyne, New South Wales. This town was literally drowned by the government, then rebuilt on higher ground. Situated on Lake Jindabyne's shores in the snowy mountains, Jindabyne serves as the gateway to Kosciuszko National Park and Australia's premier ski resorts. Located 6 hours from Sydney, the town functions as a major winter sports hub with tourism peaking hard during ski season from June through September. But here's the backstory that makes Jindabyne economically and historically fascinating. The original town was completely submerged when the Snowy Mountains hydroelectric scheme dammed the Snowy River in the 1960s. The government relocated the entire community to higher ground, flooding homes, businesses, churches, and streets to create the reservoir. Here's the twist. During severe droughts, when water levels drop dramatically, the ruins of the old town emerge from the lake like a ghost rising from the grave. Divers explore the submerged town when the lake is full, swimming through streets and entering buildings preserved underwater. Photographers shoot the ghostly ruins when drought exposes them, capturing eerie images of foundations, bridge pylons, and remnants of a community sacrificed for national infrastructure. Only in Australia would the government flood your town, then expect you to be grateful because now you're conveniently located near ski slopes. The economic trade-off was brutal, but ultimately successful. Lose your historic town, gain a tourism economy based on winter sports and lake recreation. Picture this: Standing on the modern lakeshore on a beautiful summer day, knowing an entire town, churches, homes, streets, shops, lies beneath your feet, sacrificed for electricity generation and the creation of Australia's skiing industry. The water you're looking at literally drowned someone's childhood home, someone's business, someone's church. Modern Jindabyne thrives on skiing, snowboarding, and lake activities, but it's built on displacement. The town's success comes with an underlying melancholy that most tourists never consider. Would you live in a town built on top of another town? Comment below. Number 4. TALBINGO, New South Wales. The original TALBINGO is now at the bottom of a reservoir and nobody seems to mind. TALBINGO, surrounded by superb mountain scenery and crystal-clear streams, was completely relocated when the original settlement was submerged under Junima Pondage during the Snowy Mountains scheme construction in the 1960s. The town was purpose-built to house workers constructing the massive hydroelectric project, then rebuilt entirely when rising water levels drowned the first version. Today, it sits in a remote location in the snowy valleys with a tiny population that barely registers on census data. The economy, such as it is, relies on fishing tourism, tranquility seekers, and mountain scenery appreciation. People come here specifically because nothing happens. It's the anti-destination destination. Here's the twist. The town's name possibly means tall belly, referring to a nearby mountain that resembles a man lying down with his stomach protruding. Residents joke that TALBINGO has more fish in the reservoir than people in town, and they're probably not exaggerating by much. Your town is so quiet that the most exciting thing that happened was getting flooded and rebuilt 60 years ago, and that's still the main historical talking point. TALBINGO exists in this strange economic limbo where it's too small to sustain traditional business but too scenic and well located to completely abandon. It survives on a trickle of tourism from anglers and nature lovers, plus government services for the sparse population. Picture this. Perfect tranquility spreading in every direction, mountain peaks reflected in impossibly still water, the low hum of hydro turbines buried beneath your feet generating electricity for distant cities, and the ghost of a drowned town literally powering half of New South Wales while you fish in silence. The water that submerged the original TALBINGO now spins turbines and keeps Sydney's lights on. The economic sacrifice of one small town enabled energy security for millions. Modern TALBINGO is what remains, a rebuilt community where peace and remoteness are the primary selling points, where the biggest industry is doing absolutely nothing in beautiful surroundings. Ultimate peace or too isolated? Tell us what you think. If you're still here, you now know more about Australia's mountain towns than most Australians. But wait till you see the top 3. One is 200 kilometers from civilization, one is Tasmania's haunted rainforest harbour, and one sits on a cliff where tourists pay to dangle 270 meters above a valley floor. Let's finish this. Number 3. Katoomba, New South Wales. This town sits on the edge of a cliff that drops 270 meters straight down, and people pay to ride a cable car across it. Katoomba, the heart of the Blue Mountains, combines stunning natural beauty with historic architecture and a vibrant cultural scene, making it one of Australia's most visited mountain destinations. Located just 2 hours from Sydney, Katoomba functions as a major tourism hub for Blue Mountains National Park, with an economy entirely dependent on visitor spending. Hotels, restaurants, galleries, and adventure tourism operators dominate the business landscape. The town is home to the iconic Three Sisters rock formation, which appears on countless postcards and travel brochures. Tourism infrastructure is everywhere. The scenic railway, scenic skyway, scenic cableway, and countless lookout points designed to extract maximum revenue from natural beauty. Here's the twist. Katoomba nearly became a coal mining center in the early 1900s before pivoting entirely to tourism. In the early 20th century, Katoomba was marketed as Sydney's luxury mountain escape, complete with grand hotels and casinos. Wealthy urbanites would escape to the mountains for cooler air and dramatic scenery. The Great Depression hit hard, closing many establishments, but the town reinvented itself around natural attractions rather than manufactured opulence. Today, most tourists see the Three Sisters, ride the scenic railway, the steepest passenger railway in the world, and leave never realizing Katoomba's economy is a perfect case study in tourism dependency. When Sydney locks down during crises, Katoomba's businesses collapse within weeks. The town has no economic diversification, no fallback industry, nothing except tourism. Picture this. Standing at Echo Point, eucalyptus mist rising from the Jamison Valley 300 meters below, the Three Sisters rock formation glowing golden in afternoon light, and behind you, a town that lives or dies based on whether Sydney has a long weekend. The prosperity of Katoomba is directly tied to Sydney's discretionary spending and leisure time. When times are good, Katoomba thrives. When recession hits or lockdowns occur, the town's economy craters immediately. It's a high-stakes dependence on external factors completely beyond local control. The scenery is permanent, but the money flowing into the town is dangerously variable. Katoomba has survived for over a century by betting everything on natural beauty, and so far, that bet keeps paying off. Have you been to Katoomba? Drop your experience below. Number 2. Strahan, Tasmania. This harbour town on Tasmania's west coast is so remote, it was literally a penal settlement for prisoners too dangerous for other penal settlements. Strahan sits 5 hours northwest of Hobart, surrounded by Franklin Gordon Wild Rivers National Park, temperate rainforests, and some of the most rugged coastline in Australia. The town has a population under 800 people and an economy based entirely on Gordon River cruises and wilderness tourism. It serves as the gateway to World Heritage wilderness areas, offering access to landscapes so pristine and isolated they feel prehistoric. Here's the backstory. Strahan exists because of Sarah Island, a brutal convict prison located in Macquarie Harbour where Britain sent its worst criminals from 1822 to 1833. The conditions were horrific: isolation, hard labor in freezing rain, brutal punishments, and almost no hope of escape through the surrounding wilderness. When the prison closed, Strahan became a port for Tasmania's west coast timber and mining industries during the 19th century. The town boomed briefly during resource extraction, then nearly died when industries collapsed. Today, tourists pay over $150 to cruise past the prison ruins, marveling at the same wilderness that trapped and killed convicts 200 years ago. Strahan's economy is 100% nature tourism, but it's built on one of Australia's darkest histories, the same wilderness that draws tourists with its beauty trapped and slowly destroyed prisoners in the 1800s. It's tourism built on suffering, packaged as scenic cruises and heritage experiences. Most visitors never fully process that juxtaposition. Picture this: a small boat gliding down the mirror-smooth Gordon River in the early morning, ancient rainforest pressing in from both banks, rain misting softly across the water, and the ruins of Sarah Island emerging from fog, stone walls, punishment cells, remnants of workshops where convicts labored in chains. The guide explains the brutal history in measured tones, while passengers snap photos of haunting beauty. This is tourism packaged darkness, where economic survival depends on commodifying tragedy and isolation. Strahan's remoteness, once a feature of punishment, is now a selling point. The wilderness that made it a perfect prison makes it a perfect destination for people seeking escape from modern life. Would you visit a town built on convict history? Let us know. Number 1. KIWIRRKURRA Community, Western Australia. This is officially Australia's most remote town. 200 kilometers from the nearest city, 600 kilometers from the nearest airport, and most Australians have never heard of it. KIWIRRKURRA Community sits in Western Australia's Gibson Desert, 850 kilometers west of Alice Springs and 1,200 kilometers east of Port Hedland, making it the most isolated permanent settlement in Australia. The population is approximately 170 people, and it's a 100% Indigenous community. The closest neighbor is 100 kilometers away across the state border. There is no commercial tourism infrastructure whatsoever. No hotels, no restaurants, no tour operators, nothing. The community gained native title over 42,900 square kilometers in 2001 after an 18-year legal battle. The economy, such as it is, runs on government services, cultural preservation activities, and indigenous art production. Here's what makes KIWIRRKURRA extraordinary. You cannot casually visit. There is no accommodation, no airport, and you need a four-wheel drive vehicle just to reach it across unsealed desert tracks. This isn't a tourist town and has zero interest in becoming one. KIWIRRKURRA was established in 1983 when indigenous families returned to their traditional lands after decades of forced displacement. The community fought for 18 years to gain native title, finally succeeding in 2001. This isn't a town chasing tourist dollars or Instagram fame. It's a cultural stronghold in one of Earth's harshest environments, where temperatures swing from freezing nights to scorching days regularly. KIWIRRKURRA doesn't want to be talked about in tourism articles. The community exists to preserve language, culture, and connection to ancestral land in the middle of a desert that would kill unprepared visitors within days. Economically, it shouldn't exist. The logistics of supplying a community this remote are absurdly expensive. But culturally, it's irreplaceable. This is a community that chose extreme remoteness deliberately to protect what matters most: their heritage, their connection to country, and their right to live according to traditional ways in traditional places. Picture this: flat red desert stretching to every horizon in every direction. The closest city farther than Los Angeles is from San Francisco. Temperatures that swing from freezing nights to scorching days, no visible infrastructure for hundreds of kilometers, and a community that deliberately chose this remoteness to escape external pressures and maintain cultural practices. KIWIRRKURRA exists because people refuse to abandon their land, no matter how remote, how harsh, how economically irrational. It's the ultimate expression of connection to place over economic convenience. Could you live 200 kilometers from the nearest city? Comment yes or absolutely not. From submerged towns to desert outposts 1,200 kilometers from civilization, these mountain and remote Australian towns reveal something profound about the relationship between geography, economics, and human stubbornness. Some towns thrive on tourism despite impossible logistics, turning autumn leaves or slow trains into million-dollar industries. Others were sacrificed for nation-building projects, literally drowned to power cities hundreds of kilometers away. A few exist purely because people refuse to leave their ancestral lands, no matter the economic cost or physical isolation. Australia's mountain towns aren't just scenic postcards or weekend getaway options. They're case studies in survival, adaptation, and the stubborn human refusal to let remoteness win. They show us what happens when communities choose identity over economics, preservation over profit, and connection to place over convenience. These towns shouldn't work by traditional economic logic, yet they persist through creativity, tourism, government support, and sheer determination. They remind us that not everything valuable can be measured in GDP or population growth. If this completely blew your mind, smash that subscribe button right now, because next week we're covering the countries literally paying you thousands of dollars to move there, the cities banning tourists entirely despite economic collapse, and the national economies collapsing in slow motion while governments pretend everything's fine. You won't find this analysis anywhere else. This is World Economics Explained, where we dig into the stories everyone else ignores. See you in the next one.